Hello, trumpet fans. I'm happy to see you again today. In this session, I'd like to talk a little bit about exercises that you can do with just the lead pipe, the mouthpiece and the lead pipe just buzzing. And many of you may have done some of these kinds of exercises. There are a lot of good ones out there. So I wanted just to kind of dig into possibly maybe give you some suggestions, some observations that I've learned over the years. And I'm going to share two different primary exercises with you. Now, all you need is a lead pipe. And you see on your trumpet, there's the lead pipe. So all you need to do these exercises is pull out the crook. I'm going to play on this just to give you an idea of what it's like. And something to keep in mind is, as you look at the trumpet, let's say you have a reverse pipe, and you could do this on B flat or C or D or whatever. I recommend B flat, certainly to start. So you have this pipe, it's a certain length. On a reverse pipe, it's a little bit longer. So the first thing to realize is don't fight to try and make the pitch a certain pitch. Find out where the note actually vibrates the best. And that can be a little bit deceptive. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. So this is a balance between, lip tension, aperture focus, tongue position, support, flow. All those things are balanced, and you're going to get different results. So the simplest thing to do is forget about all that stuff and just let the air go, but as easily and freely as possible with follow through, and you're going to get a real note. So first step is find the real note. Now, if you check with a tuner or a piano for reference, you might notice that it's on a regular standard B flat lead pipe, it's around a concert E flat. Maybe not exactly though. So work primarily with the vibrance, the resonance, the projection of the sound at first. Now I'm going to put this horn down and put my tuning crook back in again. By the way, this is a good test. If your tuning crook is clean and properly lubricated, you won't have any problem getting it in and out of the horn, unless it's bent. Okay, there are always issues to deal with. So here we go. So this is just a separate lead pipe. And the reason why I'm using this rather than just playing on the horn is because I can hold it very lightly. And you see I've kind of got it balanced so that I can just lightly touch. Now, for some players, that'll be difficult because you become accustomed to using more pressure. And pressure is not wrong. Pressure is necessary. So it doesn't mean that you should use less pressure. It means everything has to be in balance. See, that's the whole point. And so pressure, the amount of pressure you use, is one of the contributing factors. But obviously, if the mouthpiece is not pressing in to the cushion of your facial muscles here, pressing it as hard, then you're not going to cut off the circulation. And that's one of the primary reasons why our lips become, we might become swollen. They're getting somewhat injured from pressure and the heavy vibration from playing. It's a tough instrument, the trumpet, so we're trying to find these things to make it a little bit easier for you all. Okay, so first step is just sustain that tone and look for the most brilliance. And the first thing I notice in my own playing and as I observe my students is most people are not, the air is not fresh enough. It gets a little stagnant. So it's duh, and when that happens, then you have to squeeze and push and drive the pitch up. But if you let the air go really, really freely, now I just did the next part of the exercise. Get the vibrant, ringing, kind of hot spot in the sound. And then see if you can take that and start to diminuendo. As you diminuendo, you want to diminuendo all the way down to nothing and keep your control. It's breath control, embouchure stability. Keep that air spinning the whole time. It's a little tricky. This is one of those, playing softer on the instrument is one of those anti-intuitive things, kind of paradoxical things. What most people do is they hold the air back, and then you end up pushing and holding back at the same time, and now you're out of balance. So what you want to do is keep feeding the air, just don't push hard. It's the same amount of pressure for a given note, whatever the note is. Lower notes require less pressure. There will be less pressure built up. In the upper notes, you generally have a little bit higher pressure in the system. And there can be, everything, as I said, has to come into balance. So there are many reasons for that. Don't think about it. Feel it and listen for it. That's the main thing we're doing here. So now, separate attacks you're going to try. So when you can get that beautiful tone that's stable and get a diminuendo on it all the way down, now you're ready to go to the next phase. Let's say you've got the first part, so now we're just going to do some breath attacks and try and hit the spot. Now you see I'm playing them kind of short. I'm going to play them shorter than that. But to start out, if you need to stabilize, if you can't just stabilize, and you can check yourself with a tuner or just listen closely, am I hitting the same target every single time? Am I hitting the sweet spot where it vibrates the best? This is really therapeutic for your whole system. It's very gentle on the embouchure if you're doing it properly. So you can get all these little finesse control things that we need, to really be playing our best. And most of us know what that feels like when we've got it and what it feels like when we don't. So this is a tremendous exercise for addressing that issue, especially when you're coming on and off the lifts. So one of the primary things that most people run into is they'll go like this. The pitch will start to get all over the place, and a lot of times the pitch will drop. If it's rising, that means you're probably pinching or choking a little bit of both, kind of pushing the air. And if it falls, that means you're not keeping that air fresh enough. So you're trying to bring all those things into balance. Again, don't think about this. Listen and feel, and aim at the target, the simple targets that you establish. So this on and off the face is very therapeutic. Unlike some of the long setting exercises, like exercises from Rich Willey's focal point book, or certainly the Caruso studies, with those exercises, the embouchure remains in position. Here, you remain poised, you remain ready. So all you're doing is, I hope you can hear this on the microphone. I'm going to exaggerate it. So the ear is instantaneously up to speed, and it's easy. It's just like throwing darts. All breath control stuff. Hard to feel? That's what you want to be paying attention to. Most of us will be thinking about the embouchure, trying to manipulate the lips so that it works better, so we get a better sound, we get a better response. And that's natural. Go ahead, let your body do that automatically. Don't overthink it again. But pay attention, pay a lot of attention to what's happening with the breath. Because the breath is like, and I'll say this many times, is like the bow on a string instrument. That's how the sound starts. You can start on the string, you can start off the string, but it's the gesture of the bow. And with the air, we have a continuous gesture. And here, challenging. That's a great reference. Most of us can do that with our voice. Your support, your readiness to follow through with the airflow, the poise in your breathing system, those things are set up automatically for most of us anyway, when we're talking. Like right now, I'm going to stop talking, but I don't collapse the readiness of those support muscles. They stay engaged the whole time. It's exactly the same one on any wind instrument. And the voice is the ultimate, and prototypical wind instrument, which we're all kind of imitating. Okay, so follow that down until you can get very short. See how that pitch has dropped? Because I'm going, I have to release the air energy. And if you lose it, loosen up, go back and just play it nice and comfortable, louder, don't force. See, I can go all the way down to, or I would just get resonance before. Before the note actually starts. That makes your chops feel really, really good. That's what a lot of people call focus. Certainly response. It's very, very important for response. Now, let's say that's working great. I say do that every day. Do it as part of your warm-up. You can even do it right in the beginning if you like. Do it any time during the day. Do it several times during the day because it doesn't take a lot of physical effort. It takes concentration and finesse. These delicate control things. Remember, like throwing darts. Now we're going to do an interval. And there's a pretty big interval here. So you just keep blowing. You're going to encounter a very big resistance between the first overtone and the second overtone. And some of you who know about overtones might wonder, well, why is it, the E flat and then it's an F, it's a ninth on the top? Why is that? That's a good question. Yeah, I think I'm correct in saying that it has to do with the fact that if you had a perfectly cylindrical pipe, you were blowing through a tube with no mouthpiece, it was just perfectly cylindrical, that you'd probably get an octave from your lowest overtone, and then you get a fifth and a fourth and a third and a minor third and so on up through the overtone series, right? So that's fine, but it's different here because you're dealing with curves. So the mouthpiece cup into the throat, the opening in the back bore, and then the lead pipe itself is conical until you get to out about here where the tuning slide goes in. And what that means is you're going to have a different pattern of overtones, but they're still overtones. So that means there's a real note. Until it gets out of our range. That's a pretty short piece of pipe, so that overtone series is going to go very high into the upper register. Good things to practice if you have the foundation. If you have the foundation, otherwise don't hurt yourself. It's the skills here you want to practice. That's what we're dealing with today. Okay. See how the pitch is low? Listen for that. And you're not making the pitch do this, you're trying to provide the necessary Luft with the air in order to bring that up to pitch without having to strain with the embouchure, without having to use extra pressure. This is why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so the next exercise is to try and do a quick shift. So that's a great little exercise. Again. So you can get softer and softer. That's great. Now, from there, you try the same exercise that we started with. I always like to do things with time, so I'm thinking 2, 3, 4, off. And that gives you kind of a musical context to work with. That's just a generally good idea whenever you're practicing drills and strange exercises like this one. Okay? So, I'm having trouble. Why? Because I'm not providing open, relaxed, easy airflow. I think you get the idea. And I would go softer and softer on that. And if you get good at that, then go to the next overtone. Now, I have to point out something that I may have forgotten. I'm not using my tongue to articulate at all. These are all starting with a breath attack. I'm going, not ha, just good reference. If you're having trouble with this, so your support is ready, and you can release that anytime you want. Now, this is a very, very necessary, I would say, skill, because you want to be in control over the timing. So if you can remain poised, you can start that note anytime you want. So if you're ever working with one of those conductors that doesn't give you a well-defined beat, or maybe they don't like you and they're trying to mess you up, and you can't tell where to, there's nothing clear to go with, you're not sure, you can be poised the whole time and then release. Anytime that you decide to release. If you're playing with someone else, show them where you're going to release. And then the conductor will be happy because you'll be playing together. And they'll never know that actually they weren't giving you what you needed. So you got to provide this for yourself. You've been warned. Well, some of you have been in this situation. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so that is the basis of what I've been calling the GR lead pipe drills, because I got them from Gary Radke, my mouthpiece maker, and good friend. And Gary, I believe, got them, I'm not positive about this, but I think they came from Bill Adam, who was a very influential, excellent teacher of yesteryear. Bill had a tremendous influence on a number of, many students. And so with that in mind, I'm going to go to a different exercise. Now this one is by Seymour Rosenfeld. And Mr. Rosenfeld, if you are a Philadelphia person who is of my age, you probably would remember him if you were interested in listening to the Philadelphia Orchestra, because he was the second trumpet for many, many years in that orchestra. So he came up with this, what he calls the lip tuning exercise. And this is kind of the opposite physical challenge. But so I like these both because they kind of cover the whole spectrum. So here's the deal. You play your first note, which is, F on a B flat trumpet, E flat concert. And then at a slow tempo, you play a descending scale down 2 octaves. Lots of ways to practice this with the breath. I like to circularly breathe it, but not everybody has those skills. Whatever, it doesn't matter. You can take a breath whenever you need to. But remember, you have to keep the air spinning. So you see you've gone down 2 octaves. That's a little bit of a challenge, but it makes your chops feel great. Now what are you looking for? Don't manipulate with your lips. Try and, nice and stable, find the position where that airstream can remain unmanipulated. not squeezed or pressed or stretched as it goes through the lips. That's a great place to start. So that's a good exercise you can do anytime as a kind of, some people might call it a warm down. Again, with the sound, keep the tone. You can do it at any volume. I like to start somewhere in the middle because it's comfortable. Now this next one, I don't know even if I'm going to be able to do it because it's been quite a while, but I think you'll get the idea anyway. So I'm going to take a risk here. Okay, so I think I lost a little control there. You get the idea. You're not worrying about perfection here. You're just trying to get these things to become more simple and graceful within the range that you can do it, within your comfort zone. And then, as I just did, go exploring outside the comfort zone. See what you can do and notice what your body is doing. Notice what works better. So I'm trying not to, use this method as I go up. A little out of position. So if you squeeze and choke and the air's not getting through, you've lost your basic skill. And so don't go for the high notes if you're distorting your form, if you're breaking form and distorting the air as it goes through the system. Keep it really, really simple. Then to finish, after you've played that, you play the F down to the double pedal F again. Now, there are lots of pedal tone exercises. You have the Maggio system, which was carried on by Carlton Macbeth back in the day. You have Claude Gordon, of course, is very, very big on pedal tones. Let's see, I'm trying to remember the name of the great teacher at the Paris Conservatory who wrote a big book, and a lot of that is pedal tones. And you can look at a lot of different methods like that. This might be confusing because you haven't done it before. Just leave the embouchure neutral. Try and get the adjustments to be on the inside, very slight, and just keep concentrating on that airstream. So I hope some of these ideas have been useful to you, and you won't know until you actually try them. And what I recommend is that you try, especially the GR Leadpipe drills, make sure that you try that every day and do it a little bit. Feel like you can come back to it. It only takes a couple minutes. You can come back to it throughout the day. I think you might be surprised at how good your chops start to feel and how you start to get some focus back if you've been missing it recently. Okay. That's enough for today. I hope you, again, found this useful, and please let me know. Join me on the website, and you'll see a lot of other goodies there for you to check out. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.